Hey, what's going on, guys? So I'm out here to take care of pulling the trim and just the trim off of the rear window so I can get to the drain and get that all cleaned out. So what I'm doing first is because it's freezing over here in Jersey, despite me rolling my sleeves up. I'm just heating up the old trim a little bit with a heat gun. That way uh, it'll be a little more willing to work with me as I kind of ease it on out, kind of soften stuff up a little bit, just make it a little more malleable. Stuff likes to fail all the time. I had mentioned in my previous video that there's a little clip that sits up top here. It's not on this car, obviously. I didn't take it off. I took it off on the other side, just not this side. So what I'm going to be doing, I have a handful of stuff up here, mostly trim tools. But I got some cheap ones that I had mentioned in a previous video that don't really like working with me all that much. I fully expect this to kind of get damaged a little bit as I work on it. Um, so I want to start off with a plastic trim tool, but it doesn't really want to work with me at all. Metal trim tools want to fuck with the little chrome in this trim, which again I know it's going to. So I'm going to be going back and forth between a couple different tools. The metal clawfoot kind of is a little bit better at the start. Trying to just work my way around and kind of try to just loosen it all up and out. So eventually, as I walk it down little by little, it scratches the upper trim. For me, I knew it was going to do that, but it's a lot easier to walk it off this way, a lot faster. And if you're replacing that stuff anyway, like I will be, it's not the end of the world. So I'm walking it down a little more, and then I can go back with plastic and hope that it'll be a little more willing to work, but it's not. So it's just going to be continuing to work down. The rubber trim at the top is kind of like pinched in, so you can kind of go in and kind of help push it off. Didn't help a whole lot with me because I'd get to the end and it would no longer really matter. But it does let you get back behind the trim and try to pop it from the top. So I'm going back in with the metal again, and again it'll want to kind of fuck with the kind of plasticish chrome that's in there. So it's not really wanting to pop out. So I'll switch back over to some plastic, try to get a little bit of the other end of the rubber up and out of the way. This side really didn't like going on the other one. It definitely doesn't like this side working with it much either. But it kind of popped a little bit, so I'm hoping I can get in there a little bit better and try to pop it out a bit more. I'm going to walk it out a little more, and I can hear it, and you can kind of see it a little bit walking out a good bit more than it was. And now I got my trim tool behind it. I'll slide it all the way back up, work on it little, and it'll pop up and out. So now that that's out, I'm going to walk it the rest of the way. And underneath, I'll be able to show you the little screws that are behind a little, almost like a rubberized, the adhesive bit that kind of helps want to hold it in place. As I get down, you want to be a little careful in this area here. It may want to bend a little bit, and I mean, you can bend it back. It's not the easiest thing to do, but once you get there, it kind of hugs inside of that grommet down here, so you'll kind of wiggle it up and out. You don't want to just pry it, it'll pop and bend. So for example, I'll try to get it all in there. It bends a little bit. Mine's not perfect as it is, but nothing won't be able to, as you put it back into place, clean up a little bit. So you can kind of see in the back where the adhesive kind of runs inside. You'll also see the black adhesive here. Was not on my other set. So that was, it makes me really think somebody was already back in there. So there's a couple little shims up between the two bits of trim up here. So what I'm going to do now is take one of my trim tools that has kind of the crow's foot and kind of help just clean up the that old adhesive. And once that's out of the way, I'll be able to get to the screws that hold all of this trim in place. So there's one here for the front. I'm only doing this rear section because that's just where the everything is for me for getting to the drain. If you were to try to clear out more of it, you'd obviously go the other way. So there's another screw here, and these are again Phillips head. I had mentioned that in a previous video, and it's kind of just like making no sense to me because I'm used to the modern German, modern Euro, where everything is Torx, the star bits. So I'm gonna keep trying to clear off what's left down here. Step to the other side of the camera, the phone. Get to that last screw, and now I'll be able to go over with a screw gun or a screwdriver. I'm going to try to get them loose without running the gun first, just so that it doesn't immediately just strip them out. So the other side had one that really didn't want to go at all. I have a replacement screw from the donor car that I'll be using. It was actually this third one that did not like, or it was this third one that didn't like it in the other car and doesn't like it in this one either. So I ended up having to do, actually feels like this one doesn't really, this one doesn't want to work either. So what I'm going to end up doing is grabbing an impact driver. And what the impact driver is going to do is let me hit it with a hammer. And as I hit it with a hammer, it's going to use that impact as I'm going to loosen, and it's going to assist in breaking it loose. Now, downside to this is you're around glass, and glass is fragile. The other downside to it is that it's another piece of equipment, but it's also kind of expecting it to maybe not want to come out with this. It didn't last time. On the other side, it didn't come out this way. So what I had to do last time was take a cutting blade on a Dremel, and I had to cut it out by cutting it into a flat so that I could then get my my flathead in there and really get it loose. So what I had to run in and grab it, but this is what the impact driver looks like. And then you just take a hammer, you line it up into the screw, and you want to have it start loosening or set so that you can start loosening it. And as you're pressing in, you'll just hammer it as you try to loosen it, and it will most of the time then let you start taking it out. So go back to the gun, put the bit in, and it grabs and it comes out. And then I got one more to do for the lower bit. And one thing to keep in mind with these impact drives, you can get them very cheap, but that also means they're not going to last as long as a good set. So I've gotten the Harbor Freight one before, and this ain't much better. This is a fucking Amazon one, but to me, I'm not in the trade, so I don't really need it as much. So now we're able to kind of work. Looks like I'm going to have to replace the screw too, just because it's a little fucked up. I might also have some rust behind it that you'll probably see in just a sec. But yeah, you're probably going to have to replace the bits here and there because they are going to want to bend as you use them. Now that I have that, I can kind of start working this whole trim up and out. You'll see a lot of shit kind of fall, especially down in this section, as I kind of work with it. Previously, I've had to lift up on the lower trim so that it falls out. Then I'll just put it back. And I'm going to end up cleaning all this up, and then I throw tape over all of the sections to kind of limit how much moisture can get back down in there. But you'll see kind of back in here how grimy it's really been. Obviously, you see here how much shit's in there. There's like filler that's in there that, I mean, I could tell just by looking at this back section here that it was going to be rotten, but this is like real fucking rotten here. So what I'm going to do now is just go over it with my claw, my metal trim tool. I'll usually use like a 90-degree pick. I just didn't bring it out here with me, but either that or with a vacuum, and kind of just go over and kind of just really try to clean out as much of this shit as I can, because it needs to all come out so I can get a Dremel in there and clean it out. Because of how everything is in here, it's like a mix of metal and a mix of not Bondo, but that kind of not metal material. And then what happens is the moisture from the runoff will start getting under. I just cracked a section off so you can kind of see. So the moisture will get under this. So this is the underside here. It's supposed to set almost like a track, so the water will run off and go down, and it'll pop out right at the bottom here. When they clog, obviously moisture doesn't escape freely, and as soon as there's a little bit of like a hole or rust building up underneath, it'll just rot. So all of this shit has to come out. I'm going to end up replacing it. I thought about replacing it by dropping a weld in there, but then I realized how little space you actually have to work with. So then I decided, you know what? I'll take some of the JB Weld putty, and I'm going to clean it up as best I can, and then take the putty and drop the putty to smooth it out, almost like with my pinky finger, because it's about the same, or I'll use my wife's finger because her hands are fucking small. But that'll help me get it to mat in with this outcrop. But what I really need to do is go in with a Dremel and clean this up. I'll probably put, depending on how deep this rust goes, because it is, looking at it, I can kind of tell it might be a little more than I thought it was going to be, while at the same time looking like it's not as bad as the other side actually, which is, at least in terms of how it is inside. It looks relatively decent up at the top, but then once it gets down here, it's pretty bad. But it's, I mean, even inside, it's not even that bad right up against the edge. So I'll probably take out the section that goes about up to this mid brace, clean out the top and the bottom, and obviously the center section, and then drop that putty-like sealant in there. I'll clean up all the rust on the outside, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's how you'll pop off this trim. Oh, and again, the screws, you'll have one screw that goes into a top slot here. There's another slot here, another slot here, and another slot here. On the passenger side, this slot on this car was rusted, so I cleaned that up a bit. This one, they look relatively okay. But yeah, that's just some of the things to notice. There's the weather stripping. There's a few sections of weather stripping on these. They're all rotten on this car. I'll replace all of them at some point, but that's just the nature of getting one of these quote unquote barn find yard pulls. So yeah, again, that's how you pull off this upper trim. Obviously the lower trim is about the same. You'll just lift it and slide it out, and then yeah, that was the trunk and what I was doing with the trunk, and now pulling this off. So I appreciate you guys. Christmas is coming up. I hope you guys all have a wonderful Christmas. And I mean, I'm gonna have another video probably before then. But yeah, have a great week. I hope everybody stays happy and healthy and has had a great weekend so far.